Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It has been a while, I know, but spring is on the way and I am starting to think about the work that I want to get done this summer. So if you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Caitlin Holler and I have been building my own cabin off-grid in Alaska, working on the property for the last 3 years, but the cabin build just started last year. In 3 months, I got my structure up all by myself. I'm going to show you guys what that looks like now once we get there. So before we get to the cabin, I wanted to talk to you guys today about my access to the cabin. This property, it's 10 acres. It is not on the road system. It is about a half mile away from the nearest gravel road. The trail that was pre-existing up here when my late husband and I bought this property was in slightly rough condition when we first bought it. I'm gonna see if I can find some of that old footage for you and show you now what it looked like when we started. Now, over the last 3 years, really the last 2 summers, I have put a ton of work into this trail to make it drier and more compact and turn it into an ATV trail. So that included digging ditches, putting in culverts for drainage, putting down some corduroy, which is basically logs, in all of the wet places that are then covered over with dirt to make a nice high road surface that can dry out in the summer. And this is what it looks like now. Now, the work that I have done to it so far seems to have really improved the conditions up here, but it's not perfect, and it's really not something I'm comfortable driving a vehicle on yet. I could drive a vehicle about 2/3 of the way if I needed to, but the damage that my vehicle would do to this trail after I've put so much work into it wouldn't be worth it. I would just tear it up and turn it back into a sloppy, muddy, rutted mess. So that's one of my plans for this summer. I plan to do a little bit more work on this road and get it to the point where it's ready for gravel. I don't think that I will get to the gravel this year because of funds. I don't have a whole lot of money, and gravel in Alaska is expensive, but I can at least get a nice, dry, hard-packed dirt road put in. So in order for that to happen, there's a couple of things that I need to do. Firstly, when we installed culverts before, or should I say when I installed the culverts before, Ryan and I had bought 20-foot culverts and cut them in half to 10 feet. We were just planning on having ATV access and didn't think we needed this trail to be very wide. But now I want it wider. So I need to get some couplers and some new culverts and add some extensions. I need to move my ditches over and make this trail, I'd like to see it at least 10 to 12 feet wide. I'm pausing for just a minute because we have a wolf pack up here and I can hear them. I think they're about a half mile off. But for everybody who's asked, yes, I do carry protection. I don't flaunt it, but I've got that covered. It's not something you need to worry about with me up here. So anyways, what was I saying? So in order to do the culvert work and the ditching work and to build up this road a little bit more, I need to get some heavy equipment up here. I will be renting an excavator and running it myself. Now, up here in Alaska, there's really 3 times a year that you can effectively use heavy equipment on a road like this. First is in the fall when the ground starts to freeze. Probably one of the best times, usually around like October, early November. The ground is nice and hard. It's starting to freeze. You're not going to tear up the road with the heavy machine, but it's still soft enough that you can dig. And then conversely, in the spring, when the ground starts to thaw but is still frozen enough, you can do the same thing. Now, where we're at right now, it is May 3rd. And, sorry, it's March 3rd. We've had a very, very bizarre winter up here in Alaska. It has been unusually warm, and we keep oscillating between freezing and thawing, which has caused a lot of issues with drainage and with ice, for example. But it seems like we may be getting an early spring. We haven't had snow in, it feels like months. And when we do get snow, it's just a little tiny flurry and then it melts away. So we're not going to have a whole lot of a melt off this spring, which is what a normal Alaskan spring is all of the snow and all of the ice is melting and it turns everything into a muddy, slushy mess. This is all happening very, very early this year. So I'm feeling the time crunch. If I want to get some heavy equipment up here, I need to do it like now. Unfortunately, I came up here today to walk the trail and assess the ground conditions and count my culverts. And I think I may be too late. In the areas that are covered with snow and ice, obviously we have a nice hard surface, but this is going to break up really quickly with a piece of heavy equipment on it. Underneath the ice, we already have mud. Now, could I probably run an excavator on top of this mud? It is frozen underneath. I probably could, but I don't want to do more damage to the road than I'm actually repairing. So it may be the case that I'm going to have to wait until late summer when things dry out to get this done. That's the third time of year when we can do this excavator work is late summer. If we've had a dry summer, that is, then the ground is usually dry enough and hard enough that as long as you take your time and you're easy and you don't overwork the ground, you can use heavy equipment up here. Now, what's going to make that especially interesting is that if you have not followed my last couple of videos, I am expecting a little wild child off-grid to be joining me in June. That's right. I am pregnant and I will be having a baby girl in June. So I would love to get this work done now while I have a little bit of energy and I'm not tied up with a newborn. But it could be the case that come this late summer, fall, I just strap her to my chest and we do the work together. There she is. This is my cabin. I built this all by myself, you guys. I cannot explain the level of pride that I have in myself for this build. And if you want to see the whole process, go back through all of my old videos. The whole process is there. Okay, let's go inside and see how it's held up over the winter and kind of show you guys where I've left off with this project and where I need to pick it up. Please, please, please pardon the mess. It is a construction zone and it has also been wintertime storage to keep everything dry. And it's a mess. Plus I bring my dogs up here, so there's blankets and dog beds on the ground and everything. But I built this cabin with a double loft out of logs. So we have a loft here and a loft at this end. I have this wall insulation partially installed. It is sticking out a little bit just to allow some airflow for it to dry a little bit more because it was still slightly damp. But what I am using for my wall insulation, this is all reclaimed blue board. It had never been used in a prior project. And I got a really, really, really great deal on 3-inch foam board, which has an R value of R15. For my uses in this cabin, that's going to be sufficient for my walls. The problem with this is that these are 2x4 sheets that I got. Each one has to be custom cut to fit into the wall. So it's been a little bit time consuming. And yes, there are some gaps in places. They'll get filled in with spray foam. It's not a huge deal, but really on the interior where I'm at is I'm still working on insulating. Now I've done a little bit on a couple of wall sections, and we have been working on the ceiling. I say we, meaning me and baby. Here's where things get a little bit sketchy. And if you guys have watched my videos religiously, then you know that I don't always do things by OSHA guidelines. Okay. So I have this middle section of the ceiling to do. And at the peak, it is a little over 16 feet. Now I have an extension ladder that will reach, but unfortunately, one rung or one side of my ladder was dangling in the air because of the pitch of the roof. So I didn't have a very good purchase up above me to be working on ladders. In order to correct that and get both sides of the ladder secured against something solid, I have the bottom resting on a board, so the ladder is actually sitting at quite an angle, 16 feet in the air. Now, I didn't film it. I did do some work up on this ladder, installing some furring strips. Those are the little pieces of wood that you see in between the rafters. The reason why I put those up is I'm actually recessing the ceiling to leave the rafters exposed by a couple of inches, just for aesthetics. I think it's going to look fantastic. You'll see what I mean as we get farther, but it did not feel very secure or safe to be working on this ladder. So with the amount of work I still have to do up there, I need to install the rest of the batt insulation, which this is a R21 insulation in the ceiling. I need to then put plastic over it for my vapor barrier. And then I'm going to be staining these exposed tips on the rafters, and then I'm going to be putting in panels for the ceiling. So there's a lot that I still have to do up there. In order to save my time, I'm going to have to spend some time and build myself some sort of scaffolding or a movable catwalk that'll extend from this loft across to this loft that I can slide back and forth and I can safely stand on and work above my head. So that's going to be a little bit of a thing. I'm going to have to get up here, get the mill fired up, put on a couple logs, and make myself that catwalk. So that's one of the things that you guys will have coming fairly soon, I expect. It's really, aside from working on the roadwork, my next goal is to get that ceiling insulation done and wrap up the ceiling. For the exterior, here's where I've left off for the meantime. I am building a covered porch here, so I need to mill the rest of the deck boards that are going to go on the porch and bring the porch out to the end. There will be log columns, and I will have a pitched roof pitching towards the front of the cabin, covering the porch, and I have all of the roofing material there already. So this is one of my hopeful summertime projects. It's not at the top of my list though. Yes, this is a temporary staircase, just something I threw together. I'm going to build a nice log staircase. It's going to look fantastic. Secondly, I have these posts partially set. They're going to move a little bit and they need to be cut so that they're all level. But I will be building an extension covered carport from the cabin that will reach out to these posts and give me a nice dry place where I can store my ATV and my snow machines. Now if we come around to the other side of the cabin, again, construction zone still, it's not always going to look like this. I will be building an extension on this side as well, which is going to be what I am calling the water room. It's going to be a place where I can store my water storage container. We'll talk more about that in a minute. I'm going to have a composting toilet and a small shower, and it's going to be sided with, sorry, that door only got partially painted. It's going to be sided with greenhouse plastic, that corrugated poly plastic, and it's also going to function as a little greenhouse. So it's going to let in a ton of light. It's going to be super cool. I'm really excited to get to work on this. So for the exterior, that is my first project I will probably be working on, is this water room, because I want to get my IBC tote water storage tank in place so I can set up my rain catchment, which will be a gutter system I will be building along this back roof. So any water that falls on the roof will be captured in that gutter. It's going to go through kind of a first flush clean out type situation, and then it'll fill that tank inside the water room and give me water that I can use in the cabin. So that is it for this video, you guys. I just wanted to give you a quick update on how things did over the winter and what you have to look forward to hopefully this coming summer. Like I said, I have a baby on the way, so my life will be scattered all over the place, but I will be getting content out to you guys as I finish these projects. I am really, really, really happy with where I'm at right now, how this cabin lasted through the winter. There are no leaks. Everything is dry. The wood stove drafts perfectly. I've had a lot of nice fires in here this winter. There's been no settling or frost heaving. The windows are all still intact. The door opens and closes the way it's supposed to. I couldn't ask for anything more, especially for something that I built myself. So that's it for me, you guys. Wild Woman Off Grid signing off. I will see you next time. Love you, tribe. Bye.